And hello and good morning. Welcome back here to Outside the Classroom. I'm meteorologist and science teacher Ryan Miller with you here, and it's a nice day. We don't have any rain falling, and we're going to continue with that theme of patterns today, looking at patterns in nature, patterns in the world around us, in building and in art, and we're going to try and provide a utility to you in the idea of just really trying our best to give you activities and lessons and things that can be done at home in a very simple way. Today, with the idea of patterns continuing, we're going to look at and make some rainbows and look at the idea of the color of patterns within a rainbow. We're going to have a little homework for you to potentially do here at home. We're going to look at patterns as well in the sounds that we're hearing from all kinds of things, whether they're man-made objects or machines or potentially even birds that we're hearing outside or any type of animal, really. There's an interesting app, and we're going to put a link to this app and a link to this website on our webpage, WJLA.com. And this is a great way to get an idea to see how your hearing is doing. It's called a mosquito ringtone. And if we go to play the mosquito ringtone, one of the things we can do is to try and determine whether or not our hearing is up to par, and it's based upon your age and what you should be hearing. So I'm going to play a couple of these very, very loud objects here, and if you could hear that at home, some people can, some people can't. Perhaps if you're younger, you can hear it. I could not hear that at the moment right now, but let me see if I can pull one up that we can actually play for all of us to try and hear. Nothing there either. So what we'll do is I'm going to put a link on the website again to the Mosquito Ringtones app. It's a great way to test your hearing, get an idea of what you can hear and what you can't hear. And that's a great way to look at the idea of sounds and patterns of sounds. We heard some birds this morning. We took a look. There were some Canadian geese out flying around, and it was a beautiful morning in terms of the sounds we were hearing. But that's one thing to consider. We're also going to start looking at patterns that are outside with respect to the leaves that are out there, the flowers that are growing. And this is a great activity that you can do at home that's very simple, easy to do. If you're in an apartment building, perhaps there are some trees, some bushes, some shrubs, anywhere around wherever you live. I'm going to invite in just a second here a colleague of mine, Rachel Kay, meteorologist Rachel Kay. She has joined the Stormwatch 7 weather team here, and she's going to be helping out and assisting with us today. And Rachel's actually going to go and begin one of our first activities. Rachel, welcome.
I had turned my mic off. Sorry.
That's okay. They work fine when we use them.
You guys can see me over here. We're, of course, trying to keep our social distancing, but I'm joining Ryan in his outdoor, spacious, beautiful patio here. And Ryan, you wanted me to go gather a few things from your yard.
Yes, if you don't mind, we're going to send Rachel out right now, and this is a task you can do at home with your kids. We're going to look for some patterns that are potentially showing up in leaves and flowers. So
you got it.
Rachel's going to hit the road. She's going to get outside, give us a look here at potentially some patterns that we can show in leaves. While Rachel's doing that, one of the things that we'll actually begin to talk about and think about as well is the idea of patterns showing up with weather. We talk about weather patterns all the time. There are certain locations that we have all over the country that have different types and different amounts of snow or rain or temperature-wise some patterns as well. So that's another part of the show that we're going to be bringing up here in just a little while. Now, with respect to a couple other things happening right now, we're going to go over and make sure that we're working and getting things going. I would like to take a moment here to thank the folks that have been kind enough to send us pictures and videos and all of the items that we're going to be sharing here over the next course of time and over the next few days. Rachel's outside right now taking a look and trying to gather some patterns that we can see and trace potentially here with flowers and leaves. We're going to be talking about patterns as well in the weather, and we're going to be sharing some videos that were sent to us, and we're going to invite you to please send us your videos, send us any information you can here, send us your questions, interact with us online. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on WJLA.com as well. So for Outside the Classroom, again, we're going to be looking at patterns today in that theme. There are patterns in art, patterns in brick, and we can see Rachel, she's beginning to come back and head our way. She's got some flowers that we can look at here. If you're at home and you want to grab some paper, one of the easy things to do is actually trace out some of those flowers, trace out the patterns, and I'll tell you what, we can actually take this activity up the next level, and here we are. Some beautiful flowers right here. We can see one of the daffodils in the garden.
That one's my favorite.
It's beautiful as well. We've
This
got
is a little different.
yeah, some buds showing up here on some of these. Actually, I don't even know what that is. I'm not a botanist. But we do have plenty of flowers, and we can actually look at and try to label the parts. If you're an artist at home, perhaps you can sketch one of these and send it to us. We can take a look and see.
Yeah, or send photos of what you've got in your backyard. Share them with us on Facebook. We'd love to see that too.
Yep, we've got patterns in the veins in this leaf. You can see there's an asymmetric pattern to this leaf, and I can see through it actually with all the light that's behind me. But that's an idea of what you could be doing with respect to art, with respect to nature, flowers and flower parts here. We can diagram it out if you have a question, you want to take a look. But one of the other items that you might want to consider doing is to map out where you live and try to come up with an idea of where patterns of growth are occurring. Whether it's the grass in the yard. Do you see patterns in different types of grass showing up? Do you see certain flowers showing up right now? And then perhaps you won't see flowers later on. Try to keep a log potentially here of all the things that are growing as we progress through spring, and we're able to start seeing all the different flowers and trees and things that are going to be coming and showing up here and blooming in this season of change. We're going to be back in a few minutes, but before we go, we've got some viewer videos that were sent to us taking a look at patterns in and around the home.
Hi everybody, do you see these two patterns, these lines and these diamonds? Well, let me show you where they came from. The lines, well, no, let's start with this. See, look, these, I got the idea because these are one beside with another one beside side, and then diamond. Diamond, one beside side. Diamond, one beside side. See how that's a pattern?
I found one of these patterns right on one of my towels over there. And I found these little dots on one of my little blankets. And these are from one of my boxes. And this is from part of my carpet. And these are just part of my dress that I'm wearing right now. And this is part of my curtains.
Hi everybody, my name is Jerome Washington and I'm a science teacher from Tampa, Florida. And today we're going to talk about patterns. A pattern is a repeatable event. And patterns in nature are amazing because they can help you predict other events. For example, here in Florida, I always know when it's going to rain because the temperature will drop slightly and it'll get pretty windy. And so anytime that temperature drops and it gets windy, I can prepare myself for rain. So, what are some patterns where you live? What are some events that happen repeatedly that you can use to predict another event? For example, snowing or the moon phases. So, that's your task. Find a pattern in nature and share it back with us. Have a great day.
And thank you to Jerome Washington, one of my friends and teacher colleagues down in Tampa, Florida. She and I have been connected through National Geographic, and it's great to hear from folks that are teaching and getting ideas from all over the country. So please send us your information, send us your questions, send us your videos here. I wanted to share a picture here. We had Ethan send us a picture of a pattern that he was trying to detect in his home. Patterns in design, patterns in building materials, and we also have next to Ethan a picture that I took here just a second ago there are patterns in light. And in fact here, when the sun is shining, unfortunately we don't have a lot of sunshine right now, but we do have a lot of lighting that we can use, and we can try to figure out patterns in the colors that we see in white light, sunshine. I'm going to ask Rachel right now to come and help us for a moment here. We're going to be looking at rainbows. I took this picture, and there's that very typical color scheme that you would see in a rainbow. And if you're at home and you're trying to do an activity with rainbows from a teaching perspective, parents, one of the good things that you could do is try to solicit the prior knowledge that your child would have about rainbows, about light. So a good question to ask before you do an activity: what colors are in a rainbow? And you can hand out some colors. And what order do you see the colors of a rainbow? Or what are the order of colors in a rainbow? Ask those questions first before you jump into an activity. Now, we're going to show you a couple of things here right now. We've got some nifty little polarized lenses that we can put in front of the camera. Rachel's going to go ahead and put those up for you. And if you'll notice, we have a vivid display of a rainbow showing up here in the lens of the camera. And that's what we're after. We're trying our best to try and make and come up with the idea of some rainbows. So, how do you do it? What can you do to get that rainbow to show up? Well, there's lots of different options. The idea here is to bend light and to try and bend the light in some capacity. Easiest way, take a piece of glass, fill it with some water, and if you are able to take those objects or anything, you can try to bend the light a little bit and you'll see a rainbow show up. If you can take a lens of something of that sort, or even a magnifying lens if you have it at home, angle it, point it at a piece of paper, something white, and try your best to see if you can come up with an idea of that color of the rainbow. You can use sunlight, of course, when the sun is shining too. Rainbows are one of the things that we're going to be looking at here through patterns and relationships of water and light as well. But one of the homework assignments that we would love to see you work on here is to try and make a rainbow and notice the colors and try to get the order of the colors that you see at the rainbow or with the rainbow that you're making at home. So make those rainbows, take pictures of them. If the sun's not shining, try to make a rainbow with a flashlight. Do you see the same colors of the rainbow? Do they not show up? If you need some help on making a rainbow, let us know. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can Instagram with us here as well. I'm at Ryan Miller Weather. You could certainly, or Miller Weather, excuse me, on Instagram. But we've got lots of ways for you to interact, ask us questions, and come up with some items. We've got some other patterns showing up here. We're lucky to have a beehive behind me, and that beehive of mine, the bees have been busy over the course of last summer, and it's amazing to see the patterns that show up and that can be created by things like honeybees. And you can see this honeycomb, the beautiful, intricate pattern showing up, and this is an essential component to a beehive. This allows the bees to actually store the food, the honey that they would end up using for food, and it's a great way for patterns to show up and to use as an example of patterns. We're going to have more examples looking at the patterns we'd see in maps coming up when we return. And welcome back to Outside the Classroom. I'm meteorologist Ryan Miller and science teacher. We are looking at some time-lapse photography from yesterday, simply shot here with a cellular device. I asked my kids a couple of questions, and this is a great activity that you can potentially do at home. Again, going back to that theme, try to solicit prior knowledge from your kids. See if you can set the stage for an activity by doing that. The question I asked was, can you try to make a map, a simple map from where you live to your school? use landmarks, tell us streets, and that was the challenge. So over the course of about 25 minutes, my kids were actually very quick to try and put together some maps, and they're now here and able and willing and ready to show you some of their creations. So one of those things you can do at home, if you're a parent or if you're a caregiver and you're looking for an activity, piece of paper, pencil, and ask your child, please try to make a map and see if you can come up with a map that can get from your house or wherever you live to the school that your child does attend when we're not socially distant and away from the classroom necessarily. And for those of you at home as well, we've been measuring and keeping our distance socially. We've got about 6 feet here. We're going to be talking about math activities as well later in the week that you can do at home that bring geometry and the idea of 6 feet or 1.83 meters away from each other. But these are the maps that Kennedy and Seton were able to put together when they were challenged with trying to come up with a way to show me how to get from home to their school. They tried their very best to put together some landmarks, some features, some streets, anything that they could potentially use to try and get that spatial awareness, that spatial knowledge showing up here in some of the activities. Now, one of the other items you can do if you want to take this a step further, take it up a notch, you can ask after you're finished with the activity to try and go back and review. If you have internet access at home or through your phone, perhaps you can pull up a map and actually map out the route from your house to that school and then check the work of your child. You can go over it. If they don't know the name of a street, well, you can help them to try and learn those names of the streets or landmarks or whatever else. That's an idea for you here that you can do when we're away from the classroom. We've been making maps today, and we're going to continue with that theme of relationships and patterns showing up in maps. My students actually at Washington Liberty High School in Arlington, they were challenged yesterday with trying to show some relationships in maps, and that was an assignment that I gave to one of my mapping classes. I've asked my students here to send me some of their examples of work and working at home and working and trying to come up with a way to get through some of the lessons and activities that we're doing. We're going to continue to try and provide you as best we can lessons and activities to do while you're away from the classroom and while we're socially distant. This is a wonderful example of a map of population density done by a student of mine, Mia, here in Arlington.
Ryan, you asked me to take a look around my house to see where I could find patterns. Well, I didn't have to go any further than my butterfly collection. Take a look at these. These were collected once they passed away, these butterflies. You know, they only live about 2 to 4 weeks. But this beautiful blue, iridescent, blue morphed butterfly. Notice the pattern, the slate pattern in its paired wings. Or this butterfly from Asia, this green and the black. Notice the pattern in its wings. Butterflies, they have 2 sides to them, and many times those patterns will wind up matching. In fact, butterflies, some of them, they have a special gene that they're born with, especially the boy butterflies. It allows them to have such pretty patterns that eventually in their life, their short life, will attract, you know, a nice girl butterfly. But these are all so pretty. I know it's not butterfly season, but it's right around the corner. And in the meantime, what kids, you at home can do is make your own butterflies. Draw them, get the crayons out, and make some pretty patterns in those wings. So there's a look at just one of the other areas that we find patterns in nature.
And Veronica, thank you so very much here for that contribution. Those butterflies are beautiful, and I actually have a butterfly garden out behind me, and when it gets to be a little bit warmer, we're going to be looking for some of those butterflies to start showing up. We're going to be talking about native plants and things that we can grow to try and encourage butterflies to pay us a visit here, and that's just one of the things that as we progress through the season of spring and we're running outside the classroom, we're going to try and give you some ideas to do things at home. We have been focusing on the idea of patterns showing up in maps. We've been focusing on the idea of patterns in weather and in art. And we encourage you, please share with us your patterns at home. If you see something, even if you have a question, you don't understand necessarily what that pattern is, then just ask us. Please let us know. You can interact with me on Twitter. I'm at @RyanMiller_WX. You can use the website that we have here on the screen. That's another way for you to share your examples. Rachel and I have been spending some time here going through some of the stuff on social media, looking for any questions that you might have for us. If you have any ideas to share with us as well, we'd welcome them. With the idea of patterns, one of the items that I wanted to emphasize again from a teaching perspective are a couple of steps, and this is from the professional teaching side of me to you all at home. Again, it's an idea of soliciting prior knowledge. You want your child to think about something first and to dig up any information or any preconceived notions they might have about a topic before you get started, and then from there you can go into the activity, and then if you feel like making that activity a little bit stronger, bringing it up or down in terms of ability level, that is certainly something you can do to scaffold whatever instruction you're trying to deliver to your child based upon their ability. With the idea of patterns again, one of the things we'd ask you to do for your homework for tonight is to send us some artwork of patterns showing up. We're going to be making maps over the next few days. One of the items that we did yesterday, if you want to check out and look at it online again, is we made a compass. If you take a magnet and a piece of paper clip or even something at home, rub that paper clip against the magnet, put it on some water, and you can determine north and south. And from there, we can start mapping out patterns that we see in geography and patterns that are showing up in our neighborhood. Thank you so much for watching. This is Outside the Classroom. We're going to continue to provide as many as we can resources for keeping learning going here during this time here. But thank you again for joining us, and we can't wait to see you tomorrow.